Hi, welcome back my friends to Miss Lisa's Sewing Room. Today we're going to be working on facings. Now facings can either be hard, not so hard, and hardest. I prefer the easy one, and sometimes it looks good on things, sometimes I need to move it up to the next level. Seldom do I do the hardest, basically because I'm lazy. I'd rather not use that method, and I can point out a few reasons not to use it. So today I'm going to show you something. Yes, Miss Lisa was busy. Now a couple weeks ago I started this dress. Okay, and as you can tell, I got black satin down the side, I got a little piece in the front, and I'm going to have a little piece around the waist, so it really blocks it off nice and it looks good. Now if you notice my neckline, this is a bias tape neckline. Now, one thing you probably know right off the bat is it's kind of winging out like that. That was my mistake. I'll have to fix it later. The reason it did it was because I didn't do something called stay stitching. Stay stitching is something you do where you stitch very, very close to the edge. No stretching of fabric. All you do is you stitch really close, and when you do that, it stops the neckline from splaying out a little bit and stretching. My fault was I thought I could get it done without having to do it. Well, joke's on me, because it doesn't look quite the way I want it to. I might try a few tricks with the iron, but I got a feeling I get to take it apart and start over. So, always stay stitch the neckline. Armholes too. Armholes have a bit of stretch in them. And if you don't do them right, they'll do the same thing and they'll splay out. And it looks homemade. So we want to do it the right way. Now bias tape, for those who don't know, this is double bias tape. And it's folded in half. And it's also got seams on the inside that are folded inside. So when you look at this, you can see that the back piece is larger than the front piece. And why would we do that? Because when you're trying to stitch this on with a sewing machine, it's not the easiest thing. And pinning it, believe me, it's very difficult. Now what you want to do is you fold it open like this. Never press out your crease. You need that crease. Is you fold it over the edge of the fabric, just like that, and that's what it looks like. Now, when you go to stitch it on, you want to stitch a little bit closer to the edge of the white, but if it doesn't quite make it, that's when you do the rollover like I did. But for your first one, you're forgiven. It does take a while to get it right. I know there's a bunch of feet out there for your sewing machines that might help, but so far I haven't found one that really works as good. I'm trying a couple new ones and I'm gonna see how they work. Maybe I'll come back and say, hey, voila! I have found the foot of my dreams. Until then, we'll just go along with very carefully folding it over. Now I don't even pin it because it's so tiny. When you pin it, you can't take the pin out until you're right on it, and then you have to worry about it getting stuck. So that's why I don't pin it. You move along with your hands and you stop and you fill it and you stop again, but that's all you need to do with that. Okay? Now with mine, what I did was I did it all the way around with my bias tape, excuse me. And what I ended up doing was I rolled it over so you couldn't even see it. My own fabric is covering it up. See? You can't see it. And normally it would look fine, but without stay stitching around the neckline, mine stretched. Stay stitching is very important. You always, always, always want to do it, especially at the neckline and the armholes. That's where it stretches. And that's what happened with mine, and that's why this is kind of folding out a little bit. Yeah, we'll see if we can't use magic iron or, yeah, seam ripper, seam ripper. Famous words in my house. Okay, that's what I consider the easiest method for doing a facing. Most times it works for you. Now, if you remembered to keep your paper patterns like I told you, you're going to notice I've got the front piece right here. Now, what I'm using is a see-through paper so I can line up with the very front edge and see the work that I'm doing. Now, to do a facing, it usually means you're going to go along the black finish line here, and you're going to come in a little bit. Now, when you do it, you got to keep a nice angle going there. And what I recommend usually is take a ruler, and yes, I put one out just for this occasion. This is not the one I'm looking for, but it'll do. But what you want to do is you want to measure off about 1.5 inches is really all you need. And you're gonna, well, actually it's better if you go this way. Okay? I know, I get confused with the ruler too. Okay. What you do is you start here, and then keeping the 1.5 point, which is on this other side here, you're going to come around. Now if you're lucky and you have a dressmaker's French curve, you can use that. But you still got to keep an eye on the measuring, because you want it to be a nice 1.5 inch, technically a circle, to go all the way up across the back of your neck, all the way down the front of your neckline. If you decide to do a V, just the same, just remember to allow a little extra at that front point, because that's where the mistakes get made on V-necks and they don't look right. Now, once you've cut them out, what you're going to want to do is A, you're going to stitch the two pieces together, and B, you're going to finish the edge that's going to be away from the seam. Now, finishing a seam is not a big deal. A lot of people will give you, oh my God, directions and directions. You have several different choices to make. You can use a pinking shear. That's that one that looks like a little gator mouth. You can trim it real close, you know, because you're going to allow a 1/4 inch seam there. So you can do it right up to the 1/4 inch line, all the way around, and then it won't do anything. It won't fall apart. If that's not your favorite, you can, with a straight stitch, fold it over real tiny and just stitch all the way around. Some people go the extra measure of folding it again. If you have a zigzag machine, you can just zigzag it and you don't have to fold anything. Same thing with the pinking, no folding. You want to get really big time. Now I want to show you exactly how to make the facing. Now this is a facing that's just going to make a ring around the neck and another ring around the armhole. I want to be more specific with you. I kind of told you about it, but now you really need to see how they're done. Alright, you start with that pattern. I said don't ever forget and ruin it. Don't let it get thrown away, because it's very important. This is that moment. Alright, now my marker here is going to go over that neckline that I picked out for my pattern and just continue on and make it right there. Now, this would be a lot easier if I could find my shortened ruler, but we'll work with it. Now, I usually start right from up at the top because you're going to be making seams anyway. And I think a 1/2 inch is a lot better. If somebody wants to break that down, for those who use the centimeters, have it. It's just not happening in my head right at the moment. And you keep on going down and you just make little lines, because if you make really big ones, you're going to find out it's not going to work quite as good as you'd like. But every time you turn this, you're lining up your 1/2 on the end of the edge of the neckline, and then you're going to continue on down until you get to this point. I know this seems like it's taking forever, and sometimes it does feel like it too. But the biggest deal here is always making sure you get that 1/2 inch line going. If you have it, it'll be so easy. And watch this. You connect the dots. So, you come down, you go around there and there, and see? And eventually, I know, I'm not perfect, so all my lines aren't going to be perfect, but good enough. Now, one thing I want you to remember is, see that outer line where it's the very edge of your neckline? You're going to want to use that as well, because that's your seam allowance. And this piece, of course, is going to go, just like the front dress did, on the fold. Whenever you see an arrow that makes a U-ey, that's on the fold. If you purchase a pattern, it may be longer, but it'll always have a bit of a curve to it in 2 arrows, and it'll say on the fold. Can't miss the moment. It's too important. Okay, so that's how you make the front facing. Now, armhole, done the same way. No big deal there. Just exactly the same way you did this one. Armhole the same way. Remember, 1.5 inches. 2 inches is a little too big. 1 inch is a little too small. If you're really scrimping fabric, you could do the 1 inch, but make this, the edge of it, something that you don't have to tuck in or whatever. It's just going to be stitched to the top seam, the shoulder seam. You'll get stitched to the underarm seam. And then for those of you who have that really delicate touch with the sewing needle, you might be able to do a point here and a point there. If you can't, it's understandable. But most times when you use this method, you're also going to top stitch it around. So that kind of helps keep it where it should be. the back is done exactly the same way. So we kind of covered everything there is to doing the facings. There is a much harder way to do it. Do I want to show you? Not really. Because it's like, why torture you? Probably the only people who are going to use it if you line a dress. That's the only time I would use it. And it's only because the lining needs to hang from something. And it can't hang from the neck, and it can't hang from the shoulders. It's got to hang from something else. So you have to consider that when you're making your garment. If you're going to line it, then we'll talk to the other one. Damn. Felt that one coming for my toes. At least I'm not blowing chunks with it. Man. Okay, that's the facing. Armhole. Okay. Are we still running? Oh, okay. For the armhole, this is what makes this part really easy. You only stitch the top piece where your shoulder seam is. You leave it open down here. You ask why? Because when you go to stitch that lower seam, you can stitch it in a way so it'll be tucked in and you don't have to worry about it going anywhere. Works great. I happen to love that method. The armhole is another area where stay stitching is really important. Anytime you have a curve, that's where it's going to stretch. And that's why the stay stitching is so important. And remember, stay stitching is going to be the same length as you normally use to sew with. So here in America, you have the choices of either 10 stitches to the inch or a number 3. I think it's the normal number to use. I'm not like the rest of you. I go for the number 2 or the like 18 stitches to the inch because I want this sucker to stay with me till I die. So that's me. Alright. Now when it comes to doing your dress, how many of you have actually tried it on and made sure it fit? I know. It's like, I don't have time. Well, you gotta make time. And the biggest thing with it is my dress, which looks pretty nasty because I didn't hang it up. But, that happens. Mine has quite a few changes that have to be made to it. For one, I'm not so sure I like the neckline. It happens. And 2, when I started this, do you recall I was a little chubbier? Well, now it seems like I got a lot of room. So I'm going to have to take mine in. But I have to remember something. Ease. If you don't have room to move, it's not going to be worth it to you. Because there's nothing worse than sitting down and hearing that fabric go rip. Yeah, very embarrassing. Try to get out of a room when everybody wants to be behind you. It's very difficult. Been there, done that. Hope you can get past that moment. But it's very important that you allow for ease. My dress, I allowed for a lot of ease. And I have to do a bunch of stuff. I also have to straighten out my seam. pretty crooked. So I'm going to stop here and let you guys think a little bit about how your croquis fits you. If it fits comfortably, good. If it's not, this is the time. Start working on it. If you have questions, you know where to find me. So give me a comment and I will respond to you. Personal message, I will respond. But right now, we're going to end for the day. So I need you to like, subscribe, and that's for free. Don't forget that. And hit the notification bell so you can remember when I'm going to be on next. It will bing and you'll say, hey, it's time for Miss Lisa. Now, the one thing I want you to remember most, what was freely given to me, I freely give to the world. Thank you.